Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today's video is about page layout and setting up the print area. I have pre-populated some data that will help us get started. If you enjoy the video or learn something from it, please do like, share, and subscribe. Your suggestions and feedback in the comments below will certainly help us bring more valuable content to you. On that note, let's get started. The Page Layout tab is the fifth tab above the ribbon, and it is mainly used to arrange your worksheet pages. It holds the options such as to set margins, apply themes, orientation, print area, to add sections, line breaks. You can also set paragraph indentation and lines, depending on how you would like to use these settings and options. So the first option we are going to explore on the Page Layout tab is on how to apply a theme to a document. So in order to apply a theme, we are going to select the data that was pre-populated on the worksheet. And then click on the arrow underneath the themes. And then you can choose a desired theme with the desired color. And it'll automatically change the font color, the font style, size, everything for you. Okay, for example, I just selected the preset theme and then it changed the complete layout of my table that I had pre-inserted. And in order to change the colors, if you would like to customize the colors on the theme, you can select the colors from the palette that is provided under the colors tab here. And you can do the same thing with the fonts as well. The margins option, you may either select from the default margin presets or you can customize your own. The margins represent the blank space around the data and align the document towards the desired directions. It also helps increase or decrease the working space per page. You can preview the set margin display by clicking on Print Preview. And it shows you that currently this is how the document will print for you. It is not really aligned properly on the document. It's in the middle of nowhere. And it is also kind of trimming the data because you haven't really set a print area on a document. So we will go back. In order to go back, we'll just simply click on the arrow back, which brings us back to the original document. You will also see a dotted line right in the center of the document. This displays that this is the area that has been preset to be printed on a physical paper. In order to set the margins as per your needs, you will select the data that you would like to print. Go back into margins, customize the margin, and if you want to make the blank space or the empty space somewhat narrower than it already is, we will reduce the size of the left and the right margins here, and so will we do for the top and bottom. When you're going to come back to the original document, a dotted line will appear where the document or the page layout ends. So this is how it is currently set up. Let me try to kind of zoom out of it and you'll have a clear picture of what I am currently talking about. So there are two dotted lines vertically, and then if you scroll down a little bit, there are the horizontal dotted lines as well. This represents that any data that is within the dotted lines will print on one paper each, depending on whether you're working on a letter size or a legal size, and it will change the alignment of the document as you're going to select the size of the paper. That will come back to later on. So for now, we would like to align this to the center of the page and not just kind of working in between two pages right now where it's currently set up. So in order to do that, we will select the entire table and of course just kind of increase the margins there a little bit. We'll click on print area and set print area. So this is the printing area that you have. It has removed all the dotted lines around it. This is the area that it will now print on a physical paper because you have customized it on your own. In order to see how the page looks like, we can either go back to File, Print, and then it'll give you a preview of the page on how it'll look like. So currently it is centered. These are the margins that you can set up if you would like to use more of your sheet to fit more data. You can reduce these margins from the sides. For example, this is normal margins here with top at 1.91 centimeters and the left is 1.78. It will give you equally divided margins on the sides. With the wide option, you can fit in less data in the center and you'll have more space around the document. With the narrow margins, you'll have more working space in the center of the document and you'll have less of the blank space around the document. Next to the margins option is our header and footer option. If you would like to insert your own customized header or footer on the document to physically print on a piece of paper, in order to do that, we will go into custom header. And for example, I would like to print my company's name on the left side of the page. I will just simply go ahead and type it here. And towards the right section, I want today's date to display. So in order to display the date, you can either manually enter today's date or you can go to insert date. You click on this icon here and today's date will automatically populate for you. Let's see how it looks like when we go back. To go back, we click OK. And then here is an example of how your document will print or how your header looks like right now. In order to customize a footer, we will go click on Custom Footer. So once again, you have 3 sections to divide it into, depending on what you would like to enter in the footer column. I would like to display the number of page that I am working on currently. So let's just insert a page number. The next option to page number is insert the number of pages. So sometimes we are working on a booklet that we want to create in Excel worksheet, and we want to display the number of pages. For example, you might have seen in books it shows you page 1 of 2, page 2 of 2. So that you can enter maybe on the right side depending on wherever you want that to display. And then we'll click OK. And this is how our page number will display in the footer when we are going to finally decide to print the document. Apart from customizing the header and the footer on this in this option, you can also decide if you want to have different odd and even pages, or if you want to have a different first page. For example, your first page, you would like it to be a title page and you don't want the page number to be displayed on it, and your page number will then continue from page 2, but it'll highlight that page as page number 1. In order to display how our document looks like, we'll click on Print Preview and our header will appear at the very top as we had inserted the information in the left section and then in the right section. And then for the footer, we only wanted to display the page number in the right section. So this is how our document currently looks like. We'll click on this arrow to go back to our original document. Our next option is orientation. There are only 2 options available to set up the orientation for your page. It's portrait and then the second one is landscape. Portrait is if you would like to print your document vertically if you have more rows than columns, and landscape is to set up your document horizontally if you have more columns than rows. And depending on your needs, depending on the document you're working on, you will select the orientation accordingly. Just to kind of give you a print preview, you had already seen how it looks with the portrait view, but I will share that with you once again. We'll go back to File option, click on Print, And this is how our portrait view looked like. If we go back, click on orientation, click on landscape, go back to file, click on print, and this is how our landscape view looks like. You see that the document has flipped horizontally for you. It has more space for the columns than for the rows. The next option to explore is size of the sheet that you will be actually printing on. So this has nothing to do with the settings on the worksheet. It is actually the setting for the paper that is sitting in your printer. It's the physical paper that you would like to print on. For example, the letter sheet is the normal sheet that you work with on daily basis, and it is 8.5 inches tall times 11 inches wide. And then there is a legal sheet. The next option to orientation is the size of the paper that you will be printing on. It has nothing to do with the settings on the document in the worksheet. However, you can select from this option the size of the page that you want to print on. The letter size is usually the normal sheet that you work on daily basis, and it is 8.5 inches tall times 11 inches wide. And then there is a legal paper that is 8.5 inches tall but 14 inches wide. So based on what kind of document you're working with, if you're working with a legal document or just like a regular work assignment, or for school your school assignment or something. Next to the orientation option, we have the page size option. This has nothing to do with changing the outline, margins, or page display on your current document in Excel worksheet. However, it does give you the option to change the size of the sheet that you would like to print this document on. For example, there is the letter size, which is 8.5 inches tall and 11 inches wide, as compared to the legal size sheet that is 8.5 inches tall and 14 inches wide. So it completely depends on you what a sheet you want to select, and what sheets do you have currently available at home. So usually when you get a package from the store, it does mention the margins of the page. The next option is the print area that we had originally explored in the beginning of the video, because usually that is the main option that you would select in order to just kind of set a print area on the document. So we'll move forward to the breaks. It is kind of self-explanatory. The breaks option here gives you the options to insert page breaks or to remove page breaks, or if you would like to just reset all the page breaks. If you have inserted a page break, due to because of an error, you can just reset it, and then it will just kind of bring you back to the original document that you were working with. In order to insert a page break, for example, we would like to split this data into 2 pages. How can we do that? So we'll select a row, we'll go back to the breaks option, we'll insert a page break, and it will divide our page into 2 different pages. So the top portion of the document or the table will print on the first page. However, the bottom portion will print on the second page. How you can tell where your page break starts is when you click on a row and you go back to breaks and insert a break, it will divide your break from just like above the row that you had selected. In order to see how you have broken your page and to actually view it on the screen, we'll go back to File. Once again, click on Print. And you can see that half of our data is appearing on the first page and the other half is appearing on the second page. Because we are currently in the landscape view, let's go back and change the orientation to Portrait. And it still shows us that because we had inserted the page break, the first half will always appear on the first page, the second half will appear on the second page. And this is how it is actually going to print on the physical paper for you. Okay, let's go back. In order to remove the page break, we'll click on the same row, go to breaks, remove the page break. The solid line that was appearing just above row 19 has now disappeared for us, and we are back to normal with the entire data to print on a normal page. However, I do want to show you some more examples with the page break selection. So I will continue to use the page break for our next option, which is the print titles. So print titles give us an option to use the titles that are being entered at the top of the page or towards the left side of the document. So for example, to repeat, we had already divided the data into two pages, but the data that was appearing on the second page had no titles on top of it. In order to add the same titles without manually adding titles to every single page, there is an option for that. So if you go back to print titles, here you have an option. It says rows to repeat at top. In order to select the titles that were already inserted in the document, we will click on this arrow. We'll select the row where the titles were. Go back to this arrow down, click on that. It'll bring you to the options page once again. On the other side, if you had some titles that you would like to repeat in the columns, and you had the titles entered here, for example, in column A, and you would like to repeat those columns on every single page, you will now go back to columns to repeat at left, click on the arrow, and you'll just click on column A or column B or wherever your titles were. And then once again, you'll click on the down arrow and it'll bring you back to the options page. Let's see how it looks like by clicking on print preview. So we already had the titles entered on page 1, and now we have the titles entered on page 2 as well. This is mostly used for if you're working on more than one sheet that is going to print on a physical paper. Now we'll explore the option of print titles. What it does is it duplicates the titles that have been sitting in the rows or in the columns towards at the top or towards the left hand side. It duplicates the titles on every single sheet without you having to manually enter it by dividing the pages. It kind of saves you a lot of hassle. So in order to print or duplicate the titles on every single sheet, we will click on print titles. The first option here is print area. We had already selected the printing area by going or visiting this option, print area, and then set print area, and then we selected the entire table. These cells represent the area that was selected for printing purposes. Underneath the print area is print titles. So in order to repeat the rows at the top, we will simply click on the arrow up, select the row. So currently our titles are sitting in row number 5, and then we'll click on arrow down. It'll bring us back to the options page. Just in case if you also have the columns that you would like to repeat towards the left hand side of the sheet, you'll click on arrow up. Then you'll select the column where your titles are. Click on arrow down, that'll bring you back to the options page. You click on print preview to see how your page looks like. So we already had the titles on our first page. Let's see if it also views us the titles on page number 2. So we scroll down. The titles on page number 2 automatically end up displaying for us without us having to manually enter the data all over again. So now we'll go back, click on print titles again to explore more options. You can also, I personally haven't used this option, but if you'd like, you can print your sheet with the grid lines, and in order to kind of view it, this is how it looks like. So these are the columns where there is no data entered. However, the grid lines are still appearing, and if you wish to display the grid lines with no data in the table, you can do so. If in this case we are going to uncheck this grid lines box. You can print your document in black and white if you don't wish to pursue with the colors or colored printing. Or if you want to print your document in a draft quality. And then also you have the option of printing with the row and column headings. So here, when you click on row and column headings, you will it will show you the columns that you had been working in, as well as the rows on the left hand side. So going back to print titles option, we will also uncheck this. The next option here is the page order on how you would like to print your data. So the first option is that you would like to print it downwards and then go back to the top and then start printing from that page. For example, there are 4 sheets here that they're displaying, and for example, you have a page set up here, which is page number 1. This will be your page number 2, and then the print setup will go all the way back up, will continue with page number 3, and then this will become your page number 4. However, if you would like to select option number 2, which is over then down, then it'll print your data vertically. So the first page here will of course will remain as page number 1. However, instead of the page down being page number 2, it'll select the page towards the right as page number 2 and then go towards the left hand side again to page. So it'll continue to do that for you. It'll do a zigzag, which is going to be horizontally instead of vertically. There are also some comments and notes that you can enter that we'll come back to at a later date in another video, but you can also enter comments and notes in your worksheet, and if you would like to display them when you're printing it on a physical paper, then you can also choose one of the selections that you would like to print your comments and notes at the end of the sheet or as displayed on sheet notes only. If there are any errors on the cells, for now the default option is displayed, so it will show you if there were any errors on the page. It will display it on the physical paper as well. So in order to come out of this, we'll just click OK. Next to the print titles is our option to shrink the height and the width of the document to fit on limited number of pages. The default setting is currently set as automatic, and that represents the customization of the margins or the sections or the page breaks that you might have inserted by visiting these options. By selecting the number of page to fit your document on from this selection, you will more likely to remove the page dividers or any customization that you might have done earlier, because you're now allowing Excel to make that decision by shrinking the data and the page space. For example, our current margins are currently set up to print on 2 pages because we had inserted a divider just above row 19, and we can view that by going to print preview here. So currently our data is set up to print on 2 sheets. However, in order to fit the entire document to 1 page, we will select to fit the page width to 1 page, and then also we want the length to be 1 page as well. By doing so, Excel has actually automatically removed that solid line that was dividing our page into 2 sections. And here, when you go back to the print preview screen, everything now is available to be printed on a single sheet instead of multiple sheets, because it is saving the space on the page as well as the margins. Going back to the original document, depending on the number of rows you're working on, you can leave your width to fit on 1 page. However, you can increase the number of pages depending on how large your data is. Either way, whether you're working on more rows or working on more columns. So you can set up the pages as per your needs. You can also click on the arrow down here right next to scale to fit and change the orientation of the printing sheet from portrait to landscape or vice versa. And then you can adjust the percentage of your document, whether you would like it to shrink to 75% or 80%, however you're comfortable reading the data on the document, or you can fit your pages here as well instead of just kind of working from this option here. It'll give you a better understanding of what you're working with and what is the size of your paper or the sheet is. But for now guys, that concludes our today's tutorial on page layout and print setup options. If you enjoyed the video, please do like, share and subscribe and click on the bell icon for notifications on the future videos. We will look forward to your feedback and suggestions to add more valuable content. Thank you very much.